Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, but this time we are going to focus on graphing cosine of x. So we're going to look at all of the x values around the unit circle at each angle. Remember, our x values are our cosine values. So I will go to any angle, and now I'm going to just look at the x instead of the y because we're talking about cosine. Here we go. I'll start on the positive side. So at angle 0, I want to look for the cosine value or the x value at 0, and I know that is 1. At angle pi over 2, I am going to look at the x value that is 0. At pi, it is -1. At 3 pi over 2, I will look at the angle, look at the x coordinate, it is 0, and at 2 pi, the x coordinate is obviously 1. Now we're going to go backwards like we did before. And remember, going backwards is just going down. So at negative pi over 2, I would go down a distance of pi over 2. So it's coterminal with 3 pi over 2. The x coordinate is 0. At negative pi, I go down and around. And I know the x coordinate is -1. At negative 3 pi over 2, again, go down all the way around negative 3 pi over 2. And that would take me here. The x coordinate is 0. And then negative 2 pi, you go all the way around a full circle in the opposite direction. And I know the x coordinate is 1. All right. So remember, when we're graphing this on our y-axis over here, our y-axis are going to be all of my cosine values. Okay, so the cosine values. And then my x-axis are going to be my angles. Okay, and I'm going to change the color. Let's go with blue. So here I got angle 0. Right here I have pi over 2. I'm doing the positive side first. And then I got 3 pi over 2. And then, not 3 pi over 2. That was my mistake. That's pi. Getting ahead of myself. So I got pi. And then I have 3 pi over 2. And then I have 2 pi. Over here, I have negative pi over 2 on the left side. Negative pi. Negative 3 pi over 2. And negative 2 pi. And I'll go ahead and start plotting my points. At 0, I'm at 1. So at angle 0, I'm up at 1. That's my cosine value. At pi over 2, my cosine value is 0. At pi, my cosine value is -1. At angle 3 pi over 2, my cosine value was 0. And at 2 pi, my cosine value was 1. 1. Hold on, I made another. It is so fun graphing on these lines. There we go. So I am going to put that up at 1. All right. Negative pi over 2, my cosine value is at 0. Negative pi, my cosine value is at -1. So I'll put a dot down there. Negative 3 pi over 2, my cosine value is at 0. And negative 2 pi, my cosine value is up at 1. All right. And now I'm going to go ahead and connect it like I did with sine. Notice this also makes a smooth continuous curve But the difference is cosine starts up high. Remember, sine started right here at the origin in the middle. Cosine's going to start high and it's going to end high, right? Sine started low and it kind of went up and down and it ended low, whereas cosine starts high and it ends high. And I have past students say, Miss Bennett, this kind of looks like a V. And you are absolutely right, it looks like a V. So there is my cosine function. It's still periodic, but it starts up high at 1 and it ends high at 1. Whereas sine starts low and it's kind of like a sideways S, right? It starts low at 0 and it ends at 0. Let's go and talk about some of the key features of cosine. So some of our key features of cosine. The domain is the set of all x's, right? So it's where this graph hits the x-axis, and we know it covers everything, right? So I'm going to go back. And I'm writing all reals. Okay, so I know it is all real numbers. Okay, so this is all reals. Because we can go to any angle measure. The range of this is still at -1 to 1, right? It only goes up as high as 1, and it goes as low as -1. The cosine, though, because this one starts high and ends high, this is an even function, which means that its symmetry lies about the y-axis. I can take the y-axis and fold it in half, and cosine will look the same on both sides, okay? So the symmetry is at the y-axis. The cosine function is periodic, and its period is the same as sine. It's 2 pi. So it takes it a 2 pi distance for it to repeat itself again. Now, what I want you to do for 5, 6, and 7 is I want you to find the x-intercepts. I want you to list 4 of them. And then I want you to find the y-intercept. I also want you to find the max values. You need to list 2 values where that occurs at x. And the min value lists 2 values where that occurs at x. All right, guys, I am going to hand it over to you. You have this worksheet. You are going to complete the worksheet entirely. Remember, it has to be handwritten. Yesterday, some of you all gave me some typed notes. Make sure it's handwritten so you get credit. You can handwrite the whole, you can write the whole worksheet out, or if you want to, you can print it out and just write on the sheet. It is your turn. Go ahead and get graphing. You're going to graph sine and cosine and submit it to me. I'll see you guys at tutorials today. Bye.